Plockton's been a lovely place. Unfortunately, we haven't been blessed with good weather while we've been here. In fact, it got so bad at one point there was a force 8 came through at night, and we thought better of it, and we took the train from Plockton to Inverness and stayed the night in Inverness in an apartment, which was very pleasant to sleep in a proper bed, and full circle fended for itself very nicely. But other than that, Plockton, apart from the weather, Plockton has been delightful, and we are now off to Mallaig. Leaving in a minute. We've got to go through Kyle, which is a very, very narrow point below the Kyle of Lacouche where the Bridge of Skye goes across, and the tide sweeps through there, so we've got to get that timing right. Mallaig, we're going to stop there at least for a couple of hours, get fuel, get shopping, use facilities, and then we may go on into Loch Nevis for the evening. More about that later. So yeah, this is the Skye Road Bridge. Amazing they didn't build it before. It's kind of ready made for a bridge, this area. We're going through into Loch Alsh. Kyle of Lacouche, which is on the mainland side, goes across to Kyle of Kin, which is on the Skye side. So Isle of Skye is on my right, mainland Scotland is on my left. I used to come up here years ago when we lived in Scotland to do weapon trials from Kyle of Lacouche. Remember being up here in January when the wind was blowing so hard I thought the phone box was going to blow off the pier. That was in the days long before mobile phones. So anyway, we're going through here, and then we turn into a very narrow channel called Kyle, which takes us down into the Sound of Sleat. Something about Scottish names, Cape Wrath, Sound of Sleat. But anyway, we're hoping that will be, well, it certainly shouldn't be sleeting anyway. But yeah, look at the scenery beyond this bridge though, stunning once again. Fast between a red dot and a green dot, marking the highest point and the channel under the bridge. The stripy line is obviously the centre. Bridge doesn't look that tall, but it is meant to be twice the height of my mast, unbelievably. And actually at the moment, it looks a bit worrying. There's a great crash in a minute. Something went wrong. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to Skye. Loud the wind howls, loud the waves roar, thunderclaps rend the air. Baffled our foes stand by the shore, follow they will not dare. Speed, bonny boat, like a bird on the wing, onward the sailors cry. Carry the lad that's born to be king, over the sea to Skye. And we get to sail down Loch Alsh with the wind behind us. see, very narrow channel. Obviously motoring now down against the wind. We're going down the Sound of Sleet, which is aptly named, I suspect. It's not actually sleeting, but it is pretty dreary. That looking into a place called Lochhorn, H-O-U-R-N. Still on our way to Mallaig, making fairly slow progress against a brisk southwesterly wind. But yeah, we've got about 2 hours, perhaps a bit less, to go to Mallaig. Leaving Mallaig Harbour, 2 ferries in, you go across to Isle of Skye, the southern end. We're off to Tobermory. Goodbye Mallaig. We're making progress south now. Topsham is getting closer. This is the Isle of Egg, with Rum behind, and I can't remember the other one, Canna I think behind that. Can't see the Isle of Muck. They're called the Small Isles. They're all a nature reserve now, I believe. I think people do live on a couple of them. We are actually got the engine running because it's pretty calm, as you see, but we do have sails up. We have been sailing for a bit, only at about 1.5 knots, so it was going to take us forever to get to well, not forever, but certainly till after dark to get to Tobermory at that speed. So we've had to turn to motor sailing, but never know, wind might pick up. Over there you can see under the clouds are the Cullen Mountains on Skye. We're just past, this is the south end of Skye now, so we're past south of Skye, heading for Ardnamurchan Point, which you can't see yet, which is the most westerly point on mainland GB. Approaching Ardnamurchan now. Ardnamurchan lighthouse there. With, I'm not sure whether that's a mole behind. I don't think it is. I think that's another part of the Ardnamurchan Peninsula. But at the very end, there's a kind of little lump. I think that's probably the end of the mole poking out behind. So this is us approaching Ardnamurchan lighthouse. I've been there by road with a friend in a camper van, with only inches each side of the camper van to get to the gate. Most westerly point, actually, the lighthouse. We had a really good sail around Ardnamurchan Point. Wind got up fairly briskly, beam reach. One of the best sails we've had, actually, really first class. Colourful houses in Tobermory just appearing. Pretty little place. Nice distillery here. Tobermory whiskey, but the favourite one is Leitchek. Spell that if you can. Yep. Tobermory. Let's put the phone down now because I've got to get the vendors off. Find the berth. More drone footage thanks to Stephen Cook. Beautiful view of Tobermory, the marina and the village behind it on one of our lovely sunny warm days. Not many of those, let me tell you, but this was one of them. While we were shopping, this boat appeared. It was called the Flying Dutchman. It was from the Netherlands, as you can see from the flag at the back. Don't know where it was going, but it came in to Tobermory for either provisioning or perhaps for an overnighter.
What do we do with that? Anchor it. Always. Earth, you put it in a buoy.
The next day we set off for Oban. We left Tobermory a few hours ago. We've come through the Sound of Mull. We are now approaching Oban. That's the ferry from Duart to the Isle of Mull, which I travelled on with friends about, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. And over here we have the island of Kerala, and then behind that, over distance there, is the town of Oban, where we're going to stay tonight. Before tomorrow, we're making a slightly more challenging trip, going down through the Sound of Mallaig, through past the Gulf of Corryvreckan and into the Crinan Canal. We want to be into the Crinan Canal tomorrow before they shut the locks at 4 o'clock, because they're saving water, because they have had a drought conditions up here, very low rainfall during the winter. Oban in front. Very narrow channel here. I don't know if you can see the red striped marker. That's on the end of the island of Kerala. This is the island of Kerala right in front of me here. And then right behind it, although it looks almost as if it's part of the same landmass, is the mainland. And we go through this little tiny channel just here and into Oban Bay. And tomorrow we'll be going down past Kerala on the inside of Kerala Island, down a narrow channel. Got the cairn gorms, I think, over here. So yeah, this is Oban. We're almost there now. Leaving Oban for the Crinan Canal. We left Oban this morning and we're proceeding to Crinan. Interesting bit of the trip. One could say interesting, or one could say scary again. We are going through the Sound of Mallaig, the bottom of which goes into the Gulf of Corryvreckan, which is one of the more scary parts of the west coast of Scotland, with whirlpools and standing waves and all the rest of it. We're going through them on spring tides, which is just happens to be spring tides, and I can't sit around every time it's spring tide and not proceed. On my left here is the island of Seal. Not sure what the little one is on the right. And round the corner we're going to turn a bit to port, and then there's the island of Mallaig on our right. We're going to go through there now. The timing has been quite critical here, because at the north end of the Sound of Mallaig, the tides at springs can run at 7 knots. So a bit like when I was in Perth, that's faster than thought, so it can go at full power. Now we've left it so the tide is reducing. It's still going to be against us, but it hopefully will be at a level that we'll still be able to proceed. The problem being that we need to get to Crinan Canal by 4 o'clock latest, because they're only letting people in and out 2 hours each side of high water, because it's been in drought conditions up here. No rainfall in the winter, so a bit critical at the moment. But anyway, someone else is going forward in front of us, which is very encouraging. More later. We're in the sound of Lewing, the Isle of Lewing being on our port side, and another island, Lung, being on our starboard side. Anyway, all the worries about feared 7 knot tides were unfounded. The maximum we had against us was 1, and that's already eased, and we've already got some fair tide. So we're heading towards Crinan quite quickly now, and as you can see, the sea is extremely flat with very little wind. But anyway, better to have it that way than find us all kind of hell and damnation. This is the Gulf of Corribreckan, known to be scary. Doesn't look very scary today, to be fair. Tide's coming in through there, so we're not in any danger of being swept out into it, but noted for its whirlpools and heavy overfalls, particularly in strong winds. We got a pretty calm day today. Yeah, so far so good. It's been a non-event going through all these places. We've got one more to do, the Doris Moor, which we are heading for. Hopefully it's going to be as smooth as this. We reached Crinan, no problem, got in actually half an hour before they closed the lock, and we had a very wet 2-day transit of the Crinan Canal. I'm making some Scottish shortbread. Shortcake. Shortbread. Stephen's recipe that he's provided me. So at the moment, butter and icing sugar in a bowl, which is going to be creamed together before adding flour and corn flour. It's just about to rain. So anyway, we've started. Before I came, I bought my own little scale, set of miniature scales for the boat. The first time they've been used. So that's good. Jean's just got to get past to make sure our hatch is shut, because it's raining again. It's been raining almost all the time for 2 days. Anyway, so I am going to start creaming this together now, but I'm not going to video that, but I'll show it to you when I've done it. That is the butter creamed with the icing sugar. Now need to add mixture of corn flour and plain flour into that. My blending wasn't good enough, so Stephen's having a go at it. I was going far too slowly and wishy-washily. So the flour's not gone in yet. This is still just the icing sugar and the butter. Butter could have done with being a bit softer, to be fair, but
it's the weather.
This is where a kind of electric mixer might be good, but boats can't run to electric mixers. Anyway, there we go. It's going. I think it's going to get a bit more of this treatment yet. I've measured out 340 grams on my little scales of plain flour and corn flour, and all of that is now got to be absorbed into that rather small amount of butter and icing sugar. Looks like hard work to me. I do have an automatic mixer here if necessary. So that's the next job, is to get all that blended in. Oh, doing it bit by bit. And I'm sitting down, but there it is, flour absorbed, ready, and having a rest at the moment because we didn't have any greaseproof paper. So Jean has gone off to the shop to get me a roll of greaseproof paper, so that it doesn't stick to the tin after all that effort. Then we will put it in the tin and put it in the oven. Be interesting putting it in the oven because my oven has no calibration on the oven. It is basically either on max or min. This needs to go in at gas mark 2 or about 130 degrees if you had a normal fan oven. So we'll be guessing and we'll see how that turns out later on, as will you. A greased tin, and we couldn't get any greaseproof paper, but we have got some foil, so we're going to use foil. Having greased the tin, which was a waste of time because we had foil instead of greaseproof paper, we've now greased the greaseproof paper, greased the foil as well. So we have double grease, although the first lot won't do anything. And now we are going to put, or at least Stephen is, so that I can video, we're going to put the mixture into the tin and compact it down.
I think you compact concrete, but
yeah, well, who knows? We haven't tried it yet, have we? At least you won't need to get the air out with a big vibrating thing. There we are.
at this point,
This could be a bit boring, so we'll have a look at it when it's finished. Here we go, it's nearly there, just making the little holes in the top. Not sure why, but I think it's just for tradition. No criticism because I'm going back over it because I've missed a bit. Immensely time consuming. Much easier to buy walkers, I know that.
Should have done then.
We got it out, unfortunately, because the oven heats from the back. We got a bit of burnt at the back, but the rest of it looks all right. So we've cut it into strips. Quite a lot, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 30 pieces. So just letting it cool a bit now, and then we'll try and get it out. So after our 2 days in the Crinan Canal and making shortbread, we exited at Ardrishay and made our way to Tarbert, where we found this super yacht. £100 million apparently. And this is Tarbert Marina. Very nice marina it is too. passing a fleet of boats sponsored by Ellen MacArthur's Cancer Trust, as you can see. That's the last one of about 4. Obviously they go out, I think they take young people out who've been suffering or been treated for cancer. We're actually travelling now up the West Kyle of Bute. So the island on my right here is Bute, the Isle of Bute. Doesn't quite join onto the mainland up at the top, but nearly does. And there's a narrow channel that goes all the way round. Largs is the other side of that island, so we've got to either go south of it or north of it. Because this is apparently a national scenic landscape, which I can kind of understand, though up here everything's pretty scenic. We decided, and the wind is light, land behind us anyway now. We decided we'd come north and go round the north end of the island. So quite a few boats out today. We've got to sail up, but we are now motor sailing. Well, more motoring than sailing, to be honest, but we have been doing some sailing up to now. And we'll be getting towards halfway to Largs, not quite halfway yet. We're at the top of the West Kyle now, soon be going back down East Kyle. The scenery up here is spectacular, as promised. Beautiful area. Not that far from Glasgow, actually, and we'll be going down into the Clyde in a minute. But yeah, stunning area. Still travelling around the coast of Bute. This is Rothsay, which is the main island of, sorry, the main town of the island of Bute. And then as we go around, this is now entering the Firth of Clyde proper. So up looking at the green hills in the distance, turn left there, you go up, literally go up towards Glasgow. Largs and the island of Cumbria, which is just off of Largs, is just in front of us. So I'm thinking we've probably got about 5 or 6 miles to go to get to Largs. The town over there that I get down to see, I think there's a place called Weeds Bay, and the ferry goes from there over to here. So yeah, so nearly there now. So we arrive at Largs. This was my home in the early 90s. Moved up here to work. Actually lived in a village called Fairley, which is just down there, the next place. But Largs, we rented a house in Largs for a year, and then bought a house down in Fairley. Nice town. The marina is just over there. See the masts of the boats, and that's where we're going in a minute. Just getting the sail down now, and yeah. So I've been doing the chart bit at the beginning of these videos, but I forgot, and if I do now try and insert it, then all my kind of voiceovers will get out of sync. So we're going to give you the chart piece at the end. We started this trip at Plockton, if you remember, here, and then we took the trip out of Loch Carron and under the Skye Road Bridge, which is just there, through the Kyles of Loch and Loch Alsh, and then down through Kyle Rear. This was the narrow bit that I was a bit worried about tide on. Ended up all right at the end. Then we had a bit of a miserable trip down through the Sound of Sleat, as you'll see on the video, loads of fog and mist over the hills. And we had stopped in Mallaig, which is where we got fuel, or some fuel, and some shopping and some showers. The next day we needed to go around the Point of Ardnamurchan. Point of Ardnamurchan is here. Ardnamurchan, this area here, as you can see, sticks well out. This is mainland GB, and that is the most westerly point there on mainland GB. So we left Mallaig, we came down, we went around, we sailed, had a really good sail around the Point of Ardnamurchan, and in here, and into Tobermory. Following Tobermory, we had a gentle partial sail, partial motoring down the Sound of Mull here, and then and we were going to go to Oban, so we had to come all the way down here and then across the Firth of Lorn, and you'll see me pointing out Kerrera, the island there, and in through this little channel into the Bay of Oban, and we had a night in Oban. I'm now going to have to change the charts because I can't do it all on one chart. I'll move that chart away. find myself. Bay of Oban is up here. So this is where we stopped in Oban, and the following day we came down through Kerrera Sound, narrow channel here, and all the way down here, round the island of Seal here, and through the what I described as a worrying bit. In the end it didn't turn out bad at all. It was very calm and peaceful. We obviously got the tides right as well, although you can see it's quite a mess on the chart. There's lots of overfalls, there's lots of shallow patches, there's lots of islands, and we came down through here through the Sound of Mallaig down here, and right down to the bottom. And then I'm going to change charts again. This is a much bigger scale chart now, so I've got to find myself again. So here's the Sound of Mallaig. So we came down through here and then down, and this is what they call the Corr of Wrekin through here. An enormous amount of water goes in and out through this area, and they've got very famous whirlpools in this area. Anyway, it wasn't a problem for us. The tide was coming in, so there was no chance of us being swept out. Came down around Cranish Point and into Crinan. Now, if we didn't go through the Crinan Canal, which I'll trace along this line here, it's quite a short canal, only 9 miles, we had to come all the way down, round the Mull of Kintyre and back up if we wanted to go to Largs, which is where we wanted to go. So we came through the Crinan Canal, and first of all we had a wonderful sail down through Lower Loch Fyne to Tarbert, where they got a very nice marina, and then the following day, light winds, we sailed down here, but then we motored up through the Kyles of Bute, which is a national scenic area, up the West Kyle, down the East Kyle, and across behind Cumbrae, where we ended up at Largs Marina, which is just there. And that was the end of this leg, where my wife Jean and Stephen and Marion leave us, and you will be introduced in the next video to Myron and Aberrell, who are doing the next leg down to Conway. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.